And now live here on the news at 5 o'clock, our breaking news coverage continues of these wildfires burning across Southern California. The largest fire in the country is the one that's burning in Ventura County, forcing thousands of families from their homes while others are returning to their neighborhoods for the first time to see what's left. Thank you for joining us on this Friday. I'm Chuck Henry.
And I'm Colleen Williams. There are 6 active fires burning right now, from the massive Thomas fire still going strong in Ventura County to the north, the Lilac fire forcing evacuations to the south in San Diego County.
The biggest fire is the Thomas fire in Ventura County. It's already burned 132,000 acres and it's only 10% contained. The Creek fire, that's near Sylmar, is 40% contained after burning across more than 15,000 acres. And the Rye fire, that's the one in Santa Clarita, has been downgraded to just over 6,000 acres. It's now 35% contained.
The Skirball fire near the Getty Center is still 475 acres, 30% contained. In Murrieta, the Liberty fire, 60% containment there. This one has burned 300 acres so far. Now, the Lilac fire, this one is burning in northern San Diego County. That is standing at 4,000 acres, but it is expected to grow. There is still no containment here. We have continuing team coverage as all these fires continue to impact hundreds of thousands of people here in Southern California.
We're going to start off right now with Patrick Healy. He's live in Ojai. Patrick.
Chuck and Colleen, the dynamics of the Thomas fire are changing significantly and for the better for the most part for populated areas. But the smoke here in the Ojai Valley is still choking thick. It is coming from fire some distance from here. It's a constant reminder, but the fire activity is not immediately near the community. Now, we took some video earlier today. This is north of Ojai along the Highway 33 corridor. The fire is still burning more strongly at higher elevations, especially those leading into the Los Padres National Forest. There are some scattered homes along that route, but conditions much different from earlier in the week when strong Santa Ana winds out of the northeast pushed the fire down from the hills into the city of Ventura and to the eastern edge of the Ojai Valley. The wind now transitioning to the prevailing onshore flow out of the southwest, which is tending to push the fire farther into the forest and away from settlements. Cal Fire's Chris Harvey.
Today is pretty far north of Ojai. There are some homes along that stretch of 33 leading up towards where the campground is up there and where the Los Padres National Forest is. But it's fairly distant from the actual downtown of Ojai right now.
The smoke is something that I should keep this on. We'll just have to deal with it as long as it doesn't spread any further, you know?
Well, maybe that's the trade-off then. As long as it's smoky, you know, then the wind's not pushing it here.
Exactly. It's not pushing it.
I think we're going to go, I guess, to the hardware store maybe and see if they have masks there or something like that, because this is pretty bad. You know, I have asthma and I don't want my mom, you know, I don't want it affecting her and stuff. So, but for the most part, everything seems, you know, everyone seems to be kind of getting back into their daily routine. So hopefully it's safe.
That is the hope. Meantime, some 20 miles east of Ojai, helicopters with water baskets went to work on the fire's southeastern flank in the Hopper Mountain National Wildlife Refuge, directly above the commercial citrus groves outside the town of Fillmore. There are also homes in this area, and sheriff's deputies last night went through the area urging residents to evacuate. Many stayed, and things did turn out well for them because the airdrops were effective. The fire is staying up in the wilderness area and not descending into the groves. Now, I have to tell you, it got quite warm during the day. It was above 80 degrees in that area over near Fillmore. Very different this evening in Ojai. The temperature is dropping rapidly. The relative humidity is rising. There's actually some moisture in the air now. So things looking up for keeping the fire out of here. But of course, that just makes this cloud of smoke, fire smoke, all the more oppressive when the air has more moisture in it. Now, a couple of other developments. We're told that Fire Command is looking at the possibility of lifting some evacuations. We may have more for that in our next report. For now, live in Ojai, Patrick Healy, NBC4 News.
All right, Patrick, thank you for that. Now, the fire also forcing officials in Santa Barbara to cancel the annual Parade of Lights there. Organizers say the air quality conditions just too dangerous to hold the event outside, which was scheduled for Sunday. This would have been the 32nd year that the parade was held there. But take a look at this. This is a show of support for the Ventura community. New video tonight of a pop-up donation center for people who lost absolutely everything in this Thomas fire. A lot of people commented on this video on Facebook with the hashtag Ventura Strong.
And now we're going to shift over to the Creek Fire. That's the one in the hills just above Sylmar. More than 15,000 acres scorched. At least 112 structures have been damaged or destroyed in this fire. And right now the fire is only about 40% contained. NBC4's Gordon Tokumatsu is live for us in Sylmar, where many forced to leave their homes are now seeing what's left for the first time. Gordon?
Yeah, Chuck, this is such a bittersweet day for so many residents in so many neighborhoods, and this one in the hills above Sylmar, definitely not an exception. As you can see, some homes a total loss like this one, nothing but ashes. Others just a few yards away, though, untouched. This morning, a firefighter told NBC4's Christine Kim of one resident who returned to see his house completely leveled, virtually nothing to save. But he noticed his golf clubs in the back of the scorched remains of his SUV. The two of them broke the window to retrieve them. Another resident, Alondra Ramirez, chokes up when she thinks of her neighbors who lost everything. She returned to her house completely intact.
That could have very easily been us. You know, we put ourselves in their place, and it's just hard to take in.
And here, they broke the glass.
Oh, my goodness. Others, like Ingrid Linares there, did not see their houses burned to the ground, but the damage so severe, they're now left with nowhere to live. She showed us the gaping holes in her roof, the water-soaked carpets and broken windows. Tonight, she and her husband and 4 young children are living in a motel, unsure how long they'll be there. She says the hardest part is explaining all of this to them as the holidays approach and what was supposed to be a merry time for everyone. Live in Sylmar, Gordon Tokumatsu, NBC4 News.
Certainly one of the most destructive fires we've seen this week is the Lilac Fire burning in northern San Diego County. So far, this one has burned more than 4,000 acres, dozens of homes, and still no containment there. Firefighters say they are now taking an offensive approach to this fire. The fire has destroyed at least 65 buildings, most of them homes. That number, they say, could double by the time firefighters have this one fully contained. Neighbors say their community is standing together to support each other.
Yeah, this is, these are the nicest people in the world in here. And a lot of people don't even have places to go. This is their home. And it's really, really sad to see the destruction.
At least 25 thoroughbred racehorses were killed when the fire threatened stables at the San Luis Rey Downs Training Center. The owner of Santa Anita Park has set up a fund now to help pay for hospital and rehab costs from this fire. Also, down in that area, that's the northern part of San Diego County, Legoland closed today because many of their employees have been impacted by the fires. Legoland is just about maybe 40 miles southeast of the Lilac Fire in northern San Diego County. We are told, however, that the Sea Life Aquarium and the Legoland Hotel, however, are going to remain open. Now, one of the other major fires burning now day 4. We're talking about the Rye Fire here. Firefighters are making some progress on this one in Santa Clarita, but they expect to be on the fire lines there for at least another week. This fire is now 35% contained. The acreage has been downgraded to 6,000 acres. CAL FIRE predicts full containment by next Friday, a full week away. This fire destroyed one building and threatened more than 5,000 others. Firefighters say the winds are still a major concern out there, and that community should dial 911 if they see smoke. You're talking about the winds, and once again tonight, weather conditions are going to be critical again on the fire lines. Fritz Coleman is tracking the wind patterns and how they could once again factor into all of this for us. Fritz?
All right, guys, we have fires burning in the northern and southern extremes of our viewing area, the Thomas Fire and the Lilac Fire. Let's hone in on those just momentarily. We have 19% relative humidity and Santa Paula calm winds. And Patrick beautifully described what's going on along the coast of Ventura County. Look at this. Winds are out of the southwest. This is the classic onshore flow. In Southern California, there's a constant battle between the dry, warm offshore flow and the cool, moist onshore flow. The first part of this week, when the winds were the strongest, the offshore flow, the northeast to southwest Santa Ana winds were winning the battle. But now that the offshore winds have lightened up temporarily, the onshore flow gets to rear its strength, and we have southwest gusts to 7 miles an hour. It's raising the relative humidity and making the firefighting effort just ever so slightly better for the guys up there in that 132,000 acre fire. Let's look now at the Lilac Fire in northern San Diego County. Winds are out of the south. This is actually good news too, not only in its direction, but in its gentleness, gusting only to 6 miles an hour, not bad, 21% relative humidity. We'll take a look at all of the other ground elements of the other fires going on. We'll talk about when you could get some winds over the weekend, and we'll talk about some good news in the overall Santa Ana forecast. All that is straight ahead.
Chris, just when you think you've got a handle on all of this, there's another fire. We're following this breaking news out of Sherman Oaks right now, where firefighters just got the upper hand on a very fast-moving brush fire there. Crews were able to move in rather quickly on this one. NBC4's John Kedys-Klimak live there right now with more on how they handled it quickly. John.
Yeah, there were 3 or 4 engines that came rushing up here right after they got that 911 call from one of the neighbors, and they know that they had to because of where we are, densely populated with a lot of trees. I want to show you some video that one of the neighbors shared with us that they shot.
Not good. This is literally the neighbor's house.
That's the view from their window, not literally the neighbor's house, though. We later learned it was just a deck, a wooden deck in the backyard that was caught on fire. Firefighters here throughout the afternoon trying to put this thing out. Took them a little while to do so because there was so much foliage around. There was some brush that caught on fire as well. There's some damage to the side of a home, a neighbor's home, some cosmetic damage to that, but the major damage is the deck itself. And we understand tonight that this was not caused by one of the embers, perhaps from the Skirball fire, which is just a little bit south of us. This was caused, it appears, by some pool equipment that malfunctioned. Now, I want to take you into Lincoln Heights from earlier today. This afternoon, a fire out there. Firefighters took more than an hour to put that fire out. This is what they're worried about throughout the weekend, too, as the winds pick up. It continues to remain hot during the day. These little spot fires are going to pop up, just like this one in El Sereno. It was 6 acres. They got it out pretty quickly, a little bit more than an hour, but big concern because it was making its way up the hill into the Rose Hills area as well. But that's the big concern for firefighters and for neighbors, too, who are watching all the fire coverage from all around our area and now finding that it came close to home here in Sherman Oaks.
It was going pretty well when I got out there. It was really roaring. So
Does the fears of what we see in Ventura County and the Creek Fire and Skirball like hit home when you see something like that right across the street?
you know, you want to make sure it doesn't catch any other homes on fire, and fortunately the wind was pretty still around here at that time. So you know, otherwise it could have really taken off, I think.
Yeah, it really could have. That picture you're seeing now, that's from that neighbor we just spoke with, David Reeder, sharing that photograph. That's what it looked like when he stepped out of his home across the street to take a look at that. Again, that deck is the only thing that really suffered the most damage. There was some cosmetic damage to a neighbor's home because of all the heat and the flames that were coming off of that. They believe it was swimming pool equipment that may have started that fire. But again, the big takeaway from all of this tonight is to keep an eye out for these flames throughout the weekend. Firefighters want to know if you see fire, make sure you call 911. Now, if you see smoke, everybody's seeing smoke, so make sure you see the flame, you call 911. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you very much, John Kedys-Klimak. And many have returned to their homes today for the first time since they were driven out early on, what was it, Wednesday morning? Doesn't seem like that long ago, along the Sepulveda Pass by the Skirball fire. That fire burned 475 acres. It's 30% contained and destroyed at least 4 homes and damaged possibly as many as a dozen more. LA City Fire has now lifted the red flag parking restrictions. The Getty and Skirball Center have both reopened, and UCLA, Cal State Northridge, LA Valley College, and Santa Monica College all resumed classes today.
Firefighters gaining the upper hand tonight on the Liberty Fire, this one in Murrieta. This one burned across 300 acres and is 60% contained. 1 home was destroyed here. All of the evacuation orders have been lifted.
We have a complete list of all the school closings, and we're going to put them on your screen, part of them, but you can see the entire list at our NBCLA app. It has all the information that you need. All you have to do is search school closures.
Still ahead here at 5, flying into danger. You will meet the military pilots fighting the Thomas Fire. They call it one of their most risky missions.
We're also going to go back to the Skirball fire in Bel Air, and tonight we're going to hear from one man who says he escaped with just moments to spare.
With firefighters getting a better handle on the Skirball fire at this point, people are being allowed back into their neighborhoods, some with no homes to return to.
NBC4's John Caddis Claymaker just saw John. He talked to a man who watched the fire race right up the hillside near his house. Even so, he considers himself among the fortunate.
I woke up, looked out of my window, and just started seeing a huge plume of fire across on the canyon side. And we came out on top of the deck out here, and we walked all the way out to the edge. And all you could see was a solid ridge of fire all the way on the back end. It was unbelievable because it was so close. You could literally stand here and you felt the heat. I really thought it was a dream for the beginning of it, but then as he knocked on my neighbor, walked on the door and said how quick it was moving, I said, this whole canyon is going to catch on fire. Because everybody's heard the story about the famous Roscommare fire that happened about 60 years ago where the whole canyon went out. I never thought it could happen here, but with the amount of brush that's out here, it's obvious. It's always open for potential. We live in a hillside, and it's very common, but we're like, we've never heard of it happening on the west side, west part of LA. It's a heavy, heavy, thick blanket of smoke smell inside the house. Called my insurance broker in the morning and said, you know, am I covered? I mean, do I have adequate insurance? Thank God I do. You know, you never know when you're going to need it. From what you see from yesterday to today, how amazing they've contained it. It's God bless the fire department for all that they do.
Now that a homeowner tells us that before the Skirball fire even started, he had been seeing all the damage, all the smoke from the Thomas fire and the Creek fires. So he was able to contact his insurance company about his coverage. NBCLA.com has more information about fire insurance and how you should file a claim. Just search fire insurance.
Want to take a moment now to update a breaking news story we have. Woodland Hills Assemblyman Matt Dabania will resign from office at the end of this month. The Democrat submitted his resignation letter this afternoon to the Assembly Speaker. Dabania is facing sexual misconduct allegations from a lobbyist and is now the second state lawmaker to resign from these kinds of accusations. He told the Los Angeles Times that he is not admitting to doing anything wrong, but says he can't represent his district with the accusations and investigation.
Taking a live look right now from the San Fernando Valley. You can see a layer of smoke out there. A lot of reports of ash. And we want to remind you that in less than 45 minutes, there will be another press conference, a news conference from Ventura County, updating all the numbers on the Thomas fire there. Now, the winds have died down a bit out there, but we are certainly not out of danger yet. Fritz is tracking all of that in his first alert forecast. Fritz?
Exactly. That's a key thing to remember, Colleen. I'll give you the overview here. There is good news in this forecast. The major good news is, for the first time in a couple of days, we've dropped down for the weekend out of the extreme Santa Ana wildfire threat index. We were up in no man's land, even for professional firefighters for a couple of days. Hadn't seen the threat that high. We've dropped down to moderate threat, LA, Ventura, Riverside, San Bernardino County. We still have a high threat in San Diego County, which is not as high as the extreme that we had a couple of days ago. So there is improvement. We will not have winds that we saw Monday and Tuesday night. However, we will have winds, and this light to moderate Santa Ana wind is probably going to be around through maybe the middle or latter part of next week. Not fabulous news for the firefighters, but slightly better than earlier this week. Let's look at the other fires that we didn't cover earlier. Rye Fire, we still have some gusts to 24 miles an hour up there, but that's the I-5 corridor wind tunnel and gusts 19 in the Santa Clarita Valley. Then we'll look at the Creek Fire. We have winds that have gusted to 10 miles an hour over the last several minutes, and winds onshore to 10 miles an hour, 13% relative humidity in Little Tujunga Canyon. Here's the Skirball Fire. Winds are out of the south at 9 with 12% relative humidity and 67 degrees. Then the Liberty Fire down in the Murrieta area, gusts to 10. All of the areas are experiencing a low ebb in the winds, which is fantastic news. These are current temperatures, mid and upper 60s to low 70s. Van Nuys 70, same for Ontario, 72 at San Bernardino, and 73 degrees at Riverside. The wind futurecast, we're going to focus on the area of the Thomas fire because minor fluctuations in wind are really affecting the spread of that already 115,000 square acre fire. This is unbelievable. And right now they're benefiting from just a momentary onshore flow, really a northwest to southeast airflow. But let's go through time and see when the winds will pulse back up to maybe 30, 35 miles an hour. The first time that's likely to happen would be probably about noon on Saturday. We'll go 29 to 34 mile an hour winds, another heavy period. Then they will subside. Then they will be back maybe on Sunday at a similar time. 30 plus mile an hour winds are possible. 11 o'clock news through about midnight on Monday. And again, they're going to be around with ebbs and flows of the gusty winds through the period, but just at or below wind advisory level, but still dangerous for firefighting circumstances. Red flag warning is in effect until 8 o'clock on Sunday, may be extended by the National Weather Service, depending. Here's a look now to smoke advisory. All of the areas you see there with the hazy cover, this is unhealthful for everyone, not only people that have respiratory issues, but everybody. Look what it does to the temperatures with an average in Burbank and the San Fernando Valley of 72. We're warm and dry through the period. A quick look at the 7-day forecast. Mountains 54 and 55 over the weekend. High desert on the bottom goes 69 and 70 and stays there through the week. Valleys of the Inland Empire on the top level, 80 and 82. In most zones south and west of the mountains, the warm day will be Sunday, 82 in the Inland Empire valleys, then almost as warm Monday and Tuesday. Valleys of LA and Ventura County go 83 for Saturday, 85 with periods of winds, not consistent, but periods, and then 84 degrees on Monday. The coast goes 82 for both weekend days. Downtown LA and Inland Orange County communities, 83, the warm day Sunday at 84. But look at this. The mild offshore flow keeping things warm and dry and well above normal, 12 to 18 degrees above normal through at least the middle of the week. Updates in a few minutes. See you then.
Still ahead, gratitude. How a man who lives in the Shadow Hills area is now thanking those who saved his home.
I hear you, yes. Top of the 530, thank you.
Wrong.
We had, I'd say, about 10 or 15 minutes to get out of the house.
So many people want to do this, say thank you to the firefighters who are risking their lives to save their homes. It's exactly what a Shadow Hills homeowner managed to do tonight after the firefighters saved his house from the Creek Fire in LA County.
Here's what happened. Embers landed on the deck of John Richardson's home, and John told our Kim Baldonado fire crews got there just in time.
We had, I'd say, about 10 or 15 minutes to get out of the house. The fire department and the police department was coming on the microphone saying you need to leave immediately. The trees was on fire. The whole canyon was coming up the back and coming through here. I raced over and knocked on doors to make sure everybody was gone, and we just left. I can't believe it. Never expected this, but this canyon here hasn't burnt in, I heard, in about 40 years. The fire department done a fantastic job. I thank them so much, and they've stayed here on our street 24 hours. House is full of smoke, but we're still here. We're good, and thank God for them. We could have been a lot worse. And we can replace the house if we have to. At least all the neighborhood we're all alive, and we live in paradise. I don't know, we still do.
There are tens of thousands of people tonight who I'm sure would echo John's words. Richardson also said he's thankful for the fire crews who stayed in his neighborhood all night to make sure that the winds didn't trigger any flare-ups.
All right, still ahead here at 5, we are talking to the military pilots who are helping to fight the Thomas Fire. Even with their kind of experience, they tell us this is one of the greatest challenges they've ever faced.
Dodging danger as a car leads police on a chase into downtown Los Angeles. The new details, we're now learning about the man behind the wheel.
2.5 minutes, thank you.
Hey, if you want to,
Okay, holding it.
your D-15 on the National Guard, if you say these heavily modified C-130s or something like that, because you will see there.
Altitude, too low. Drop.
You're 150 feet above the trees in the cockpit of an Air Force C-130.
Man 6, nice drop.
Your speed is about 130 miles an hour. That's close to the plane's minimum safe airspeed.
Exactly.
We're working with our mapping partner, Esri, and we've created this NBC4 interactive map. It uses NASA satellite data, and it gives you the very latest information from first responders on the lines. It's tracking the path of each one of these fires. We've been following it for days, doing a show.
Oh, he goes into the shoulder there. Oh, he goes into the shoulder there in the center divider around that car.
Voters have a right to be represented by someone who tells.
Oh, let's see. Woman found in a car is.
As we have since these fires started, NBC4 continues to follow the breaking news. We're going to take a live look right now at the Thomas Fire. This is the one in Santa Paula and Ventura. It's already burned more than 132,000 acres.
Once again, Gil Levis over the scene in News Chopper 4 for us. Gil?
Colleen and Chuck, we're right over the Santa Paula area. This is the fire burning north and east of Santa Paula, up in the hills. I'm going to come out to a wider shot. The fire laying down nicely as the sun has set here. That's typical fire activity, unlike what we saw earlier in the week. It is raging a little bit there at the higher elevations, but as I come out, you can see the darkness and some more hot spots there. The firefighters we're being told that the fire crews in the air are going to be continuing to make water drops on these areas, on these hot spots over the Fillmore and the Santa Paula area throughout the night. So that's really welcome news. And with the winds being a little bit more calmer tonight, that's going to aid this firefight definitely, as those crews are able to drop some water on this fire. That's the latest in News Chopper 4. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Gil, that really is good news. Now, you've probably seen some of those huge planes, the modified C-130s, dropping all that red phosgene on the wildfires, or in some cases, water there. What you may not know is that these airdrops are some of the most dangerous missions a pilot can fly.
I think you're really going to enjoy the point of view videos. Tonight, we take you along with the Air National Guard for an exclusive look at the dangers these pilots face.
Ready? Altitude, too low. Drop.
You're 150 feet above the trees in the cockpit of an Air Force C-130.
Man 6, nice drop.
Your speed is about 130 miles an hour. That's close to the plane's minimum safe airspeed.
This is the most risky flying that we will see just about anywhere, including combat.
Colonel Brian Allen should know. He's flown hundreds of combat missions.
Covers level 3, whole loads.
This is Colonel Allen piloting an airdrop over the Rim Fire just a few years ago.
Drop.
Allen oversees all flight operations from the Port Hueneme Air Base.
Some of our folks are former Navy pilots that have landed on aircraft carriers that have been pitching in the dark of night, and they say that aerial firefighting is even more dangerous.
According to this CDC report, there were 298 wildland firefighter fatalities between 2000 and 2013. About 25% were associated with aviation. One of them, the only Air Guard wildfire incident in the past 50 years.
There was a crew of 6. We lost 4 of them. 2 survived.
Investigators concluded that the plane flew into an invisible microburst. That's a burst of wind that forced the plane to the ground.
We have training standards and have changed the way we do business because of that.
Over the Thomas Fire in Ventura County, this crew did 6 drops in just one day. Captain Nathan Southwick was the co-pilot.
We're doing everything that we do in combat, except we're doing it closer to the ground. In most cases, we're doing it heavier, and we have a lot more terrain to deal with.
He's responsible for pulling the trigger on a precise target.
You have 27,000 gallons of retardant coming from the airplane in just a matter of seconds.
You can see from this training video just how close the plane comes to the ground. There is just no room, no margin for error there. Colonel Allen says that one of the many things that pilots fear most these days is hitting one of those small drones. He also tells us that there is no way that the Air Guard pilots could do any of this without the support of the commercial airlines that they work for when they're not flying for the Guard.
It really is something to see. Now, with the fires burning all the way from Ventura to San Diego County, we're making it easier for you to track exactly where they go and where they might be at this point. NBC4's Kathy Varr is at our interactive fire map. She's tracking the progress of each and every fire since they broke out.
We're working with our mapping partner, Esri, and we've created this NBC4 interactive map. It uses NASA satellite data, and it gives you the very latest information from first responders on the lines. It's tracking the path of each one of these fires. We've been following it for days. We want to show you exactly where they're going right now. So we'll start with the Thomas Fire. This is the largest of the fires, and you can see all of these yellow dots. That is where the fire began. The red on the outer perimeter, that's where it is now. In fact, you can even see where it jumped the freeway on the second and third day, the 101, and it's now heading into Carpinteria. Now, on the other side, it is moving into the Los Padres National Forest. Next, at the Rye Fire over in Santa Clarita, you can see that one did most of its damage on day one. We're no longer seeing much outward movement from that one. Moving on to the Creek Fire in Sylmar, that one's also slowing down. Again, there was a lot of activity the first few days, and you can see how it jumped the freeway, the 210 there, into Shadow Hills. Crews are getting a handle on that one. That's why you're not seeing much movement here. The Skirball Fire broke out near the Getty Center. That's the one that gave us all the traffic trouble, and it did the majority of its damage on Wednesday. It's holding steady right now. We're going to move the map now for you to show you that fire that broke out yesterday in northern San Diego County. That one started yesterday afternoon. The red dots show you it is still active, moving quickly to the west. So all of this is constantly changing. We're going to put the fire map and all the information you need on our website at NBCLA.com. Back to you.
Thank you, Kathy. We now have the name of a burglary suspect who led police on this pursuit through downtown Los Angeles. In fact, it's one that we streamed last night on the NBC LA app.
Oh, he goes into the shoulder there in the center divider around that car. Dangerous.
31-year-old Edgar Carranza and a passenger took off along several freeways last night before they finally got off on the 105. They just missed hitting people walking across the street before officers finally were able to corner them and make the arrest.
Voters have a right to be represented by someone who tells them the truth, rather than someone who denies and threatens to sue his accusers.
He said, she said. Senate candidate Roy Moore says he doesn't know some of his accusers, but one woman says she has proof otherwise.
So a lot of it is social development. So we're talking about our bodies and stretching our bodies.
I'm Vicki Vargas. Protecting your home during a fire. You know what to do, but homeowners are finding new ways to protect themselves. We'll show you next.
Special gym started for children with autism has now expanded to children with any disability. And they say yoga is helping those children develop. An instructor says her Storytime yoga class helps kids build focus, muscle memory, and motor skills. The classes include exercise, that's critical for kids with physical disabilities, and socializing and movement that helps kids with behavioral needs.
So a lot of it is social development. So we're talking about our bodies and stretching our bodies.
Now, the gym also asked parents to work on these exercises too, so they can help their kids. Brothers and sisters can also take part in these classes.
The Long Beach City Council has approved the development of a new downtown innovation center. The shared workspace will be located on Pine Avenue. It's made possible through a partnership with the council, the Long Beach City College, and Blank Spaces. That's a private company behind a number of shared workspaces in Los Angeles. The goal is to have this hub up and running, fully operational by spring.
Fire everywhere and no water to put it out? The water fight brewing during a time of crisis.
I'm Vicki Vargas. Protecting your home during a fire. You know what to do, but homeowners are finding new ways to protect themselves. We'll show you next.